WMNF, your community radio station, powered by the people, is launching an emergency one-day drive to raise $100,000 to cover the state funding cut. Join us on July 19th, as it's our day to stand together. A community united to protect independent, local, public radio from government funding cuts and media consolidation. Every donation counts. $5, $50, $500. Give what you can. Join the resistance. Power community radio. Donate now at WMNF.org.
No man in the world. No man in the world.
The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls. It's women and girls.
We create
the smart, powerful, creative, accomplished young women.
We can fight.
I'm here because of you. I'm here because girls like you inspire me.
No man is big enough for us.
Many of these girls have faced unthinkable obstacles just to attend school. Any society.
Buckle up, buttercups. It's another episode of Surly Voices here on WMNF Tampa 88.5. My name is Liz. I'm one of your hosts. My co-host Donna made it before the music cut off. And Maria is joining us by Zoom, and we also have a special guest today. And Donna, do you want to introduce him?
Yes. When we're going to go over what we're covering.
Oh, okay. Yes. We'll go over what we're covering first. Donna made a really nice little promo for the show last night. And so I was looking at it and I'm like, dang, we're going to need more time.
We always do, though. We always do.
So let's see the promo. We are talking about Epstein. Epstein is the Achilles heel for...
Seemingly.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a minute. The other things that we're talking about are what, Donna?
Okay, so do you want me to go over to the link here?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So we're talking about the Epstein files. We're talking about the Supreme Court and what is going on there, and why it's going on, more importantly, which is exactly what what you can expect from history. Also, the detention center in South Florida. Some people call it Alligator Alcatraz. Some people call it Alligator Auschwitz. Whatever you call it, it is extremely inhumane. And you would think if anything would separate the wheat from the chaff, it would be that. But no, it's the Epstein files. But
and so we're asking, what does that mean for civil liberties?
Right.
What does it mean for human rights in America? Can Donald Trump fire chairman of the Fed, Jerome Powell? We're going to break down some of the legal implications, well, at least Reverend Myers, and what it would mean for the Federal Reserve's independence. Now, I will tell you this so you guys can, if you're doing some research during the show, you can go and take a look at this. He did say that he isn't going to fire him outright, but that the chairman of the Fed can be fired for a cause. So they're going to say that the renovations that are being done on the building might be a little superfluous, and maybe looking into that, because he doesn't have a history of anything like that,
Right.
of being ostentatious at the taxpayers' money, like to the tune of $45 million for a parade. But I digress. The dramatic bromance of Donald Trump and Elon Musk, we have to touch on that one.
Yes.
Because
Well, that's directly leading into the Epstein files.
something always comes up with that. These two egos can't seem to stay in their respective lanes. Surly Voices is here for all the drama.
All the time.
What's up with the Supreme Court? It looks like the last woman standing is Ketanji Jackson Brown.
Interestingly, the most qualified justice.
The
but go
most
ahead.
qualified justice and the blackest, says the black women in the room. From controversial decisions to questionable ethics, we're examining the highest court in the land and asking tough questions. Well, at least Reverend Meyer will. And more political and cultural chaos that we'll unpack as it unfolds. And it's gotten so groovy lately that it unfolds while we're on the call.
Yes.
While we're on the phone. So you guys, this is going to be it's going to be a good one. Buckle your seatbelts. A little bit more serious than we normally are alone. I mean, because we roll out the facts for you, but we also poke good-natured fun at it because we don't want to spend the rest of our lives. We don't know how much time we've got. We're a certain age, and we don't want to spend the rest of it crying in our soup. So we try to make light of it and help you guys along at home. So let's just get right into the introduction for Reverend Meyer. Now, you guys know Reverend Meyer's a regular. He's the executive director of the Florida Council of Churches. He's an interfaith leader and a public theologian who brings diverse communities together through conversation, advocacy, and action. Well, we've had a lot of conversations. He leads efforts on immigration reform, climate justice, health care, criminal justice reform, and civic engagement. He pastors St. John's Lutheran Church in Jacksonville, where he is transforming the campus there into a community arts and enrichment hub.
Ooh,
because
nice.
That's what churches should be.
Right.
Novel idea. Go Reverend Meyer. A champion for moral democracy, Dr. Meyer has organized major justice initiatives, supported youth advocacy, and coordinated international church partnerships. He holds a Doctor of Ministry from Wellesley Theological Seminary, and MDiv, which is a Master's of Divinity for those of you who are atheists or
MDivs.
Satan worshipers.
I like that. MDivs.
Yeah. From Yale, and a BA from Baker University. His ministry is rooted in the belief that true conversation reveals our shared humanity and connection to the whole. And that has been a theme and something that I've been privileged to be the recipient of these teachings and guidance / mentorship over, going on 10 years now.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So
okay.
I've gotten myself a, honorary MDiv just by sitting next to this fellow.
You might have a master's in bachelor's in divinity.
I might.
Yeah.
I might. But the same as an honorary MDiv. Come on,
Yes,
give
yes.
it to me. Liz.
Okay.
Let me have
Okay.
it.
All right,
I do a lot of free
honorary.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Reverend Meyer, are you with us?
Dr. Meyer.
I'm here.
It's
Reverend
so
Dr.
good to
Meyer.
see you.
Yes.
Well, it's good to see Liz because I'm connecting through a Zoom call, and it's good to hear your voice, Donna, and look forward to hearing Maria's voice soon. So
You'll see
it's
Donna
great to
in
be
a
with
minute.
you.
She
Love
had-
your show.
yeah.
I want to say this up front. I love the intro to your show. Really love the intro to your show.
The song? Buckle Up Buttercups?
Well, that too, but no, the place of women's voices in a healthy society.
Thank you. Yes. Well, we are grateful to WMNF for giving us the format and the space to do the talking. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. And where would you like to start in the dialogue? before you say something, let me give everybody the phone number and the email. If you want to join the discussion, give us a call, 813-239-9663, or you can email to dj@wmnf.org. Okay. Now, Dr. Meyer, where would you like to start in the vast buffet that is today's show?
Well, actually, I want to begin in deep roots because we know that the current regime considers it necessary to throw flak in the air every day so you can't concentrate on anything because they want to hide the deep roots behind what they're doing. So I want to start at the deep roots before we get into the flak.
Okay.
And so where I particularly want to focus in is the 2020 census. And one of the most important parts of the 2020 census is something called the Diversity Index. Funny, they haven't stricken this from their website yet. Simply put, the Diversity Index is that if you just randomly selected two people in a population, would they be of the same race or would they be of different races? Would they be of the same culture or would they be of different cultures? Would be of the same ethnicity or different ethnicities? And in the most populous states, which include, Florida, Texas, California, et cetera, New York, the diversity rate is 70%. So the chances of just randomly selecting two different people being of different backgrounds altogether across America is at a rate that's never existed before. We are a multiracial, multicultural country. Secondly, if you look at population spread in the map, it looks like the great heartland of America is overwhelmingly white, and they have low diversity indexes, relatively speaking, right? That are, are 50%. However, if you look at the second most popular, greatest population in Middle America, it's Hispanic, and so what we're seeing right now is something that an influencer said, 65 million people could be alligator food, right? One of the most horrendous evil statements that has been said and not challenged by the regime. America is not, on paper, America is not a white country anymore.
And that's what's...
And that's the root of the problem, right? So how do we get back to quote unquote a white country? And the answer is you can't. You can't get back there. But they want to make it extremely painful. So we are now suffering the tyranny of the minority. And this minority has a lot of money and they have a lot of hate, and they're applying it in great purpose. So the one big I call it BA stands for something else, right? Badass. I don't know. Can I say that?
Yes. Yes. That's not one of the 7 words.
I don't know what the 7 words. Well, that's a long time ago. 7 words have changed in my vocabulary. Anyway, when you look at that, they've created an oligarchy. They've implemented Project 2025, and they've established a surveillance state. And when we talk about the detention center in the Everglades, there's one coming to Fort Blanding outside of Jacksonville, which is the home of the Florida National Guard. And there's plans to build one in the Panhandle in the swamps. When you put these things together, these are enslavement camps. We should be very clear about what they are. These people will be detained in quarters that remind people of how Africans were put in cargo ships and shipped across this country. They're just jam tight, overflowing toilets, bad food, et cetera, et cetera. And they're going to be held there for a very long period of time. There's simply no way they can detain millions of people across this country and deport them rapidly. And the people who are now being hired to run these detention centers, if you look at the numbers that the state of Florida is paying up to $90 an hour for some of these workers. I call it a Proud Boys employment bill.
Yeah, really.
And so prison workers in the state correctional system don't get but a fraction of these salaries. So this is a public grift taking from our public funds and translating them to 2 or 3 private prison corporations who are some of the largest donors to the current regime, both in Florida and in Washington. And so we're looking at the coming of a police state whose purpose is to establish a kind of a Gilead type of state, if you go back to the Handmaid's Tale, and to try and change the racial makeup of this country. But you can't put the genie back into the bottle, because when you look at the diversity index, what you have is a rapid growth of multiracial, multicultural families. And so this is a direct attack upon every family. One other thing to say, somewhere between 11 million and 17 million, depending on what year you choose and how you reach out, are going to lose their health care because of the one big bad bill. And every uninsured person increases the insurance cost of every insured person. This is the piece we have to understand. We're not just denying health care to people who don't deserve it. We are increasing the cost of our own health care.
Exactly.
Sickness doesn't know any boundaries, right? And so ill health that's why public health talks about pandemics and endemics and et cetera. Plus ER health, these people who don't have insurance go through the ER. That's a premium that is now being unfunded by the government. Mm-hmm. So it will go directly into our insurance premiums. So this is a shakedown on every American family to transfer more of their hard-earned money into insurance companies, who, by the way, happen to bankroll the president's big party when he was elected.
That you raised a lot of good points about the healthcare system, and I mean, if the Democrats had passed some kind of universal health care, because we're the only major country that does not have universal health care. But no, there's too much money to be made. Anytime there's money to be made, they're going to do it. So, Maria, what do you have to say about all that?
Follow the money. It's always about the grift, and it's always about the money. Follow the money. When we talk about this cruelty and this complete breakdown, that is the breakdown in humanity and decency. It's almost like a distraction for what the grift that is actually happening, right? They spent, and this is the thing that really frustrates me, right? Because you had all of these Democratic state legislators go down and do their performative photo opportunity press conference and things like that. Well, where were they when this $400 million was being taken out of our budget in Tallahassee and being spent on this thing? Why were they not outraged then? Why were they not calling attention to it then?
Right.
We could have at least made an attempt at stopping it, because when you shame them and you expose them, we have a better chance at stopping it than after the fact, right?
Right.
So after the fact, you have what? You have Geo Group making millions of dollars off of this. You have Proud Boys, just like Reverend Meyer said,
Proud Boys.
you know, gainfully employed by this, right?
Yeah.
And it's just it is just the complete extraction of resources from people who are just already struggling to get by.
You know, one thing I would add to that is you guys know here in the studio that I've been going back and forth to DC over the last couple months, maybe in the entire summer and late spring, trying to whip support from folks who are on the margins, like Senator Tillis, Murkowski, Collins. If for those of you who are piecing this thing together and trying to learn and understand your government, Senator Collins is a senator from, Susan Collins, senator from Maine, is a Republican, hasn't been known in the past to vote with Democrats. Also, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, where 40% of her constituents receive Medicaid.
Yeah, but she cut herself a little sweetheart deal when they passed the big
which
bad
should have
bill.
triggered the Byrd Act, but did not because they skirted the parliamentary rules in doing that. And then Tom Tillis out of North Carolina, who says he's not going to run again because he's been bruised. There was a story you may recall earlier this year in the first round of this nonsense where Senator Tillis said that he was threatened by the FBI, and then we heard him denounce ever saying that. So it makes sense to me that folks are deciding not to run again if these are the shenanigans that are going on behind the scenes. I put nothing past the current administration. Now, to the original point, the Democrats, I think, are using this, just stay with me, okay, are using this to run on for the midterms. I think that when you denounce a bill before and you make a lot of noise around it, you give the citizens an opportunity to see the facts of the case. People are going to start reading and looking, and then there'll be articles written about it, and the Atlantic will do something, 2,000 words about it, and people will get educated on a little bit more on how their government works and what this particular administration wants to do to them. When you do it after the fact, you just are able to point to it and say, they did this, they did that. But it's too late to recover the cost of this for those who will be impacted most, which are always going to be the vulnerable in our society. And so 20% loss in SNAP benefits, and they set these cuts to start after the midterms so they can blame it on the Democrats. But
right.
I am of the opinion, as a person who works in the realm of the empire, that there will be no reason to blame a Democrat because these guys will have their face pressed to the window because of the things they're doing now. So the Democrats didn't have to leave us hanging in order to stand up against these bills. The Republicans were always going to do what they've done, and they were always going to come to the impact, the outcomes that they're coming to at the midterms. These guys are going to lose dozens of seats based on their current trajectory. And I don't see it getting better with the advent of the Epstein scandal and Pamela Bondi and various bad actors like RFK in the administration. I sense that they're going to hit the sidewalk pretty hard. 26.
Yeah, to that point, Donna, I would just say it all bespeaks more violence coming from the administration going forward.
Yeah.
Because when evil begins to unwind itself, which it always does, then the only way it can protect the ground that it has laid out is by using violence. So, for instance, immigration courts now are hiding the identities of the ICE lawyers,
yes.
right? Which is like, it's the whole legal system collapses when attorneys can go in and hide their identity. There's no way of holding them to the code of conduct and et cetera. there's been major action filed against Pam Bondi for violating code of ethics and etc. We'll see where that goes. My own gut feeling is she will become a scapegoat.
Oh, of course.
For the Trump administration. The handwriting's on the wall.
It is.
The stallions are, stomping their feet in the crowds. They want to run. They need somebody. The Epstein files may disappear, and they'll be Pam's fault.
Well, it's Pam's fault. There even is an Epstein file, pretty much, because she was the attorney general in Florida when he got charged down here. And it's like, wait a minute. I mean, she is no stranger to Epstein. So,
but I don't feel sorry for the coming onslaught, right? The coals that are about to be dumped on her head. She is so willing, so intent on the destruction of the vulnerable. I mean, she's Cruella.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Okay.
I think we have to keep focused that that more and more the responsibility for returning civility to society is falling on every citizen. So today is Good Trouble Day across the nation. There's over 1,000 events. My question is, which one are you going to? Where are you showing up? We can't simply leave it to the political parties to rescue us from this fiasco. What is underway is the complete deconstruction of what we've known as the United States of America, so it can be turned into a technocracy ran by oligarchs. If we don't say, no, that's not the kind of society I want to live in, it will be the kind of society we live in. And so we have to find our legs, we have to find our voices, and we have to make clear the kind of society that we want to live in, one that is multicultural, multiracial, that appreciates difference, that relishes the sincere generosity and authenticity of one another, that says this is what ought to be in the room, that shapes public policy, that we should not be led by wealthy white men whose only desire is to hide themselves from the truth of the global population.
All right. You're listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. Give us a call, 813-239-9663, or you can email to dj@wmnf.org.
So can we just go right into the Everglades Detention Center? You have something first?
Yeah, because Joe's been hanging on the line here in Venice, and let's just get to him real quick.
Okay.
All right. Hi, Joe.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. DeSantis is just kissing Donald Trump's behind in an effort to get his wife endorsed for governor and looking after his own political aspirations to be president in the future. That's all he's doing. And
Good
my
point.
my grandpa always said, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And we all know Trump's
Quacking along.
relationship and friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yep. Exactly.
Epstein's a convicted pedophile. We know Donald Trump's past moral history. I think we have a duck here, and I think it's time to impeach President Pedophile.
Well, thank you so much, Joe.
Nice. Okay. Thanks,
you so
Joe.
much.
You're welcome.
So, first of all, Joe, I think that the ship has sailed on the endorsement. As far as I know, Maria, correct me if I'm wrong, Byron Donalds has Trump's endorsement?
Sure has.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Well,
He sure has.
maybe DeSantis is trying to get him to switch trains.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No.
No, they divorced a long time ago, and they are cohabitating for convenience, Trump and DeSantis.
I mean, I think the thing about it is, I think it's the same thing with Elon Musk, right? There can only be one megalomaniac in the room at a time.
Right.
And then they start to cannibalize one another, right?
There's only one bride at a
Put them
time.
all in a tank and
Polygamy is illegal in the United States.
put them all in a tank and then film it and then
I mean, it's fun. It's actually fun to watch because we're literally watching that now. But DeSantis, the two of them compete for who can be the most destructive, right? Who can be, we keep telling people in America, like, Florida is Project 2025 come to life.
It is. It is ground zero.
And we've been living it for 8 years now.
Right.
So, and I think that between the two of them, Trump, it's a little unhappy that he didn't do it first.
Well, if Project 2025 is a disease, then our Governor Ronald DeSantis is patient zero. So speaking of,
Let me just say that the relationships continue to be testy between Tallahassee and Washington. The governor just appointed his best friend to be CFO, who doesn't have the credentials for it, passing over the former chair of the president's campaign in Florida, who is an accountant with a CPA. And so the push and pull that continues between those two is, one of those love-hate feasts that if you have nothing else to do, it's worldwide wrestling in politics on Friday evening.
well, can I point to the July 3rd statement made by the feds? They said they were not in charge of the Everglades Detention Center, a.k.a.
That's correct.
Alligator Auschwitz, a.k.a. Alligator Alcatraz. That's a long name. But we want to make sure all the bases are covered here. But they said they were not in charge, that this is a project, and I quote verbatim, of Governor Ron DeSantis' administration.
Yeah, that's
That was July 3rd.
yeah.
Okay.
right. And what they're doing, the governor issued an emergency ruling. This is how he bypassed the legislature of an immigration invasion. He's borrowed from the Trump playbook here. And they're sequestering FEMA funds that were established to address flooding in South Florida to build the camp. And so he's done every possible workaround so that even his legislative buddies, and they have a supermajority in Tallahassee, didn't even have a say on how this is going to happen. And so the cost of this enslavement center in the Everglades is going to be more flooding in South Florida on king tides and on bright sunny days and etc., because the funding to address it has been redirected by the governor.
All right. Let's talk to Stephanie in Riverview real quick. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi,
How you doing?
I'm good. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Oh, yay.
Yay. So I wanted to speak to the point of, not kind of just sitting around and moping and, like, trying to kind of do more.
Right.
And I kind of feel like I'm doing everything I can. Like, in my little world, like, I only have so much money to spend. I only have so much time. I only have, so it's a lot of, like, angry social media posts. But, like, I want to do more, but I feel like my resources are limited. So, like, I kind of wanted to speak to that. Like, there's a lot of us that, like, wish we could do more and want to do more, but feel hopeless, feel like we can't.
Okay.
So I guess we need support. We need ideas. We need, I don't know.
Okay, so don't go. Don't fall off the line when you get done with your question. I want you to stay on.
Okay.
Well, she's going to be hanging on for a while.
Yeah. Oh, because the reason why is because I want to give you a couple different things you can do. The first thing I'm going to suggest is elections have consequences, right? And more people should vote. To that point, 93 million Americans that were eligible to vote did not vote in the last election. So that was enough to win this election 5, 8 times, 10 times over. right?
Yeah.
So we don't have a dearth of people who have strong emotions about the election. We have a dearth of people who are compelled to enter the voting booth. And we have to get even a fraction of those people into a voting booth, right? Americans have to get these people to move into the space, the electoral space. So the first thing that you can do as an individual, because we know that change is incremental, whether we like it or not, right? Unless it's catastrophic and then it's instantaneous, but then it comes with a lot of drag. So if we want this incremental change, your job, Stephanie, is to talk to the people around you, the people on your street, the people at your job, if you're able to. Some jobs don't allow you to have those conversations, but they happen anyway.
Yeah.
If it's a safe space, have the conversation. At your family gatherings, at cocktail parties, have the conversation. What do you think would be different if we had a different outcome? It doesn't even have to be about my party, your party. What do you think would be different, and what would you want to be different, and how do you think we'll get there, open-ended, and then let people tell their story, and then you'll know where to enter the story to kind of help them with some of the things that they believe that they've gotten off YouTube and social media in general that are false.
Yeah. And I'm kind of leaning a lot towards like the local stuff and like the state stuff, because like I feel like that it's easier to start in like your own backyard.
Yes.
And like I like the idea of, I'm a teacher, so this is a very touchy subject, especially in my workplace, but also like just in general for us. But it's a lot of it's just social media based, which is hard because people are hiding behind that. And like, it's hard to really gauge, like, a person's true, like, beliefs or what have you when you can't see their face.
I think the general approach you should take to social media is that it's not real.
Yeah.
One of the things that companies that do social media research and extract and data mine for corporations so they can sell more stuff to us is they can tell when people... Well, there's a program called Numero that candidates use for fundraising specifically. I'll point it out. And they will tell you if someone is acting a way online that they are not in real life.
Stephanie, why don't you email your phone number to dj@wmnf.org, and we can contact you, or either your phone number or your email address, and we can contact you and hook you up with some other things.
Alrighty.
If I could just weigh in here just real quickly.
Sure.
And that is everybody votes.
Ideally.
The question is where you're voting, right? So you can vote at the ballot box. And when you vote at the ballot box, and when overwhelming majorities of people vote, which is not the case where we are now, doesn't matter the party or whatever, that forces the government to be responsive to the overwhelming majority of people. If you decide that you're not going to vote at the ballot box, you're handing your vote to Peter Thiel and to the tech bros who say, we're just going to replace the ballot box with our own polling, and just the kind of thing that Donna was talking about right now. We'll just make all the policy decisions based upon our polling of where we want to go. And in fact, Peter Thiel said several years back, if people really knew what we wanted to do, they would never vote for us.
Yeah.
So we're not going to tell them out front what we're going to do. But they want to run the world through polling. And so they put out a narrative, constantly put out this narrative on social media that voting doesn't matter.
Right.
That right? What I'm telling you right now, doesn't matter who you vote for. You show up, and if overwhelming majorities cast a ballot in the official process, government has to be responsive to an overwhelming amount of people showing up. And you can see this in your local government. Precincts that have low turnout do not get the benefit of public funding. You can look at the parks and the streets and everything else. And precincts that have high turnout get a lot of the local public dollar. And so turnout matters. It matters at the precinct level. So if you want to be local, make certain you have the highest turnout in your precinct.
Well, Peter Thiel, if you guys need an arch villain for your Marvel universe.
It is. We should be like dressing them up and giving them names.
We got to give
yeah.
this guy a name because he is destined at his current trajectory to rewrite the script of the American hegemon. Right? And I think I see Dr. Meyer nodding on that. He said that it is getting more and more difficult to get people to vote against their interest.
Oh, poor thing. Dr. Meyer, I have a question from one of our write-in listeners. Can your guest speak to the Heritage Foundation's next evil, Project Esther? Thank you, Elisa, proud member of the Circle of Friends. Thanks, Elisa.
Well, people need to understand the meaning of the term Esther. It's from a book in the Hebrew Bible, Queen Esther, who put herself on the line and used her royal authority to get privileges for her people who were being oppressed. But they're flipping that script. They're flipping that script. And I haven't gone into the details of it. So right now I'm just really responding to the behavior of the Heritage Foundation. We should understand who funds the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation is funded in principle by libertarian oil money. And they have a stark interest. And so let me just ask you this question. The U.S. is now the largest oil producer because of fracking. Fracking changed everything. But before that, who were the largest oil producers? Oh, they were all Muslim countries, right? Mm-hmm. So who do you think Project Esther is really going to be focused at? Because where's the Easy Oil at right now? Easy Oil is not in America. Easy Oil is in the Middle East. And who owns those countries? So we need to look at things like Project Esther as welcoming a World War III.
You know, I'm really surprised that Democrats have not come up with something like a project 2028 or something that is an answer to these Machiavellian plots to rewrite American government and to shift the direction of, how we are governed and how we consent to be governed. I think that's one of the things that bothers me about this whole thing is when we think of the consent of the governed and who is giving consent. And I think that is what Dr. Meyer's pointing to when he says, if an overwhelming majority of people turn out and vote either way, mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. It just matters that there's more engagement.
Right.
That then I can say, oh, I live in a country that is really right-leaning because 2/3 of the people, eligible adult voters in my country, want it that way. Then we have the government that we deserve, that we're asking for.
Right. So,
if I just say, my additional argument is if 2/3 voted to the right, they wouldn't be taking Medicaid away from people on the right. I'm just, so they would be responding to their population rather than to their big dollar donors.
We saw that a little bit, didn't we? Didn't we see the people wake up a little bit in the rural states and start talking about rural hospitals? It was like we almost, that we pull the lawnmower and it almost cranked up. People almost realized what was happening to them. And then it was like, and they went back to sleep once Murkowski took the deal, Tillis capitulated, Collins capitulated, and it was like almost a little revolt, and then it was over.
Yeah.
But that's where we need to go.
Right. We got some callers in the queue. Let's talk to Skylar, who's driving in Tampa. Hi, Skylar. Hello.
Hey. Hi, how are you doing?
Good. It's really difficult to hear you, though. It's got a lot of static.
1 second. Hi, this is my first time ever calling, and I'm a little nervous. So my question is, being like a very liberal, open-minded person and having so many friends and family members that are conservative and very MAGA, how can I, or what is some advice you can have where I can question them without them being defensive and having like a good open dialogue where even though I'm not persuading them to like change their beliefs, but just to see my view of why I think we're going in such a bad way, because there are family members that I will speak to where 20 years ago they were telling me to love each other and be kind and always be nice, where now it's just openly okay to be racist.
Yeah. It's really difficult, Skylar. I mean, I feel your pain because a lot of my family members are MAGA, and I find the best way to even start a dialogue is to say, so tell me what you think about this. You know, get their feedback. 99% of the time, it's whatever Fox has told them the party line is. But at least if you're not confrontational about it, you might get some more information. And other than that, once I get to a certain point,
I think you also have to make it personal, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's very easy to other people and hate people if it's not a personal story, right? But you could talk about issues and say, well, do you know, how do you feel about me? Do you know, that's my friend, and you welcome them into our home or whatever, and we've had dinner with them or whatever. But what you say is so great about this guy actually hurts people that we love and people that we say that we care about. So when you personalize it and make the other an actual human being that they know, they start to break down those and perhaps, I'm not going to say they always do.
Yeah.
They tend to
soften.
become a soften. Right, that's the word.
Yeah, they wake up a little bit.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
but
these
you got to make it personal.
Yeah, I think these two comments are on point. One is people are only responding out of the information system that they're in. And so if we other them, we keep them locked into that information system. And so the humanization is the most critically important thing that we can do. And Maria's pointing to that, and I just love the way she does it. The counteroffensive, if you will, is to completely humanize the people who are othering others. And so every morning I walk my dog with my neighbor who's a big MAGA guy, right? And I'll say to him, well, where'd you get that information? What makes you, and we've learned, we know we're on polar sides, but every now and then we find this kind of soft middle when we agree on, like humanity is humanity. You can't gainsay humanity. And so you begin to soften. And the humanization of people plants the seeds of doubt. So when they're in their information center and they're hearing that othering, they begin to have some resiliency in themselves to say, wait a second, why are you talking about people that way?
Right.
People are people. You can't blame people for being people.
Exactly. So thank you so much for calling, Skylar, and giving us that great question. And please keep listening.
Well, thank you so much.
All right.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Let's talk to Gary in St. Petersburg.
Gary,
Hey,
you
Gary.
have 30 seconds.
Hey, okay, real quick. Raleigh, downtown, St. Pete, 4:30.
Awesome.
Williams Park, against the Orange Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Thanks so much, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. All right. So
Man, he took you at your word.
he was efficient because I wanted to make sure that we take callers too late in the show. It's not ideal for us to take callers in the last 15 minutes. It doesn't allow us to really wind down and put capstones on each of our bits of content.
All right. So, our listeners are giving us all kinds of great things to call this debacle in South Florida. Gator Gulag. Wait, my favorite is, let me find it.
I like Gator Gulag.
Wait, you're going to like this one better, I think. Camp Guantanamo.
Interesting. Interesting.
That's good.
And
In honor of Governor Go-Go Boots.
Yeah, Governor Go-Go Boots. And
People don't understand that the governor, when he was JAG officer, oversaw torture in Guantanamo Bay.
right. He was a Gitmo, water torture and stuff. David is the one who gave us Camp Guantanamo, and he says, American fascists have a knack for naming things. It's an effective way of shaping public perception. The resistance might do well to adopt the same tactic. Thank you. Amen. I will say it for the 10 millionth time. Politeness is a tool of the patriarchy. With that in mind, I suggest we call the concentration camp in the Everglades Camp Guantanamo to remind us who made it possible to memorialize his military career as a JAG at Guantanamo. Thanks so much, David.
I have one here. Cruelty is the point of Alligator Auschwitz. Very sad and disappointing. Trump is a false prophet, Bubba. So we talked about Project Esther?
Yes, we did.
Okay. We missed that one at the bottom. Okay. Great show. The new prison camp should be called Camp Mag-Largo Suites. It's the first of a new hotel chain. Howard Clearwater.
Oh.
Let's see here. It's a big old steal. Okay. And let's see. Hi. I just spoke to y'all on air, but lost connection. Thanks so much for taking my call. That was Stephanie. And we need more info on the people that we should vote for, any party. Where can we find this without a lot of internet searching? Okay, so I would start with Ballotpedia, right? Ballotpedia, and then I'll also come back with a website for a scoring. There's a website that does scoring on Congress members, how often they're absent, how often they miss a vote, how they vote. It's going to be and I'll give that to you, Linda. I'll email that to you this evening, actually. And then the last one is your guest hit it on the head. Israel's oil-based war on Syria has already started. A year from now, they will be halfway to Turkey. Egypt will be after that. And again, that's Howard. So, Reverend Meyer, take us out.
Take us home. Take us to church.
Well, I want folks to study how Africans were hunted in Africa by mercenaries, chained, detained, shipped like cargo, and brought to this country for their slave labor. We're doing all of that right now in this country with undocumented people. We haven't got to the point of slave labor yet, but I think we'll get there. Involuntary servitude because of the length of detentions that people will be held. And all of this is a huge transfer of wealth from working people to a handful of well-placed, big donor private prison corporations. Mm-hmm. And so we are seeing the 21st century reenactment of the legacy of enslavement that lasted for 250 years. If we don't show up and talk, our children and our grandchildren will be living through that kind of an enslavement society. It'll be run by tech bros.
Yeah. Jeez.
Wake up.
Well, yeah, and it makes perfect sense because Trump wants Coke to put real sugar in their products. So, they can start right then and there. Okay.
All right, I have one thing. It's govtrack.us.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So Frank has given us the finger, so it's time to go. Thank you so much for listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. Please give us a listen next week.
I like diamonds, I like stunning, I like shining, I like $1 million deals. Where's my pen? I'm signing. I like those Balenciagas, the ones that look like socks. I like going to the Tula. I put rocks all in my watch. I like texts from my exes when they want a second chance. I like proving wrong.
This is